Just keep your hoofs crossed we don't bump into any of the cannibals I was telling you about.
Skia Vel Skiana, our first island. Dr. Johnson and I were met and welcomed by that most exotic of our brothers, the noble savage.
Kian Melia Falcher!
Whatever few words you have in this house, Mr. Boswell, I must have them now. The fellow's waiting.
100,000 welcomes, my dear Dr. Johnson. Pray, let me introduce myself. Sir Aeneas Macpherson, 3rd Baronet. We had news at our house in Kensington that you might be arriving, and made haste to be here that our humble hospitality be offered you. Your master's baggage, fellow. I trust the swell has not interfered with your appetite for tiffin.
I have an appetite still for a great many things, sir, but I should be a liar if I said that tiffin was chief among them. Indeed, I have never tiffed in all my life. What is it? A pursuit? A handicraft? An accomplishment? What?
Forgive me, 'tis none of these, but a coinage new minted in Kensington from the Urdu and passed to me by my daughter, meaning a mid-morning snack.
I hope you're taking all this down for the dictionary's addendum, Mr. Boswell.
Blow up something lively there.
No! Bean! Sonny Bean! Him and his family were the worst cannibals in the whole of Scotland. Their wains used to eat one another. Don't even one of the kingsfolk mace like. Some of the big Dury talking to his doctorship.
Pray allow me to introduce myself, Sir Aeneas. James Boswell, Esquire of Edinburgh and of my cart. I am presently called to the Scottish Bar and am here in the Hebrides as Dr. Johnson's right hand. We are come to write up our journal.
Your fellow, what is he saying?
Alive, damn it! My plan is to write alive.
Something about his wife. You must translate. I cannot comprehend the half. What is he? Scotch?
Only by his being born here, sir. He would otherwise wish to be an Englishman, for he has it that England, being closer to the equator, breeds a more civilized and intelligent character. Is that not so, Mr. Boswell?
What? I cannot understand you for that terrible caterwauling, sir.
Whereas I think it rather sweet, mister.
What?
And so it fell out that we discovered ourselves at the Baronet's Tower House, where a country ball had been arranged in our honour. Out of a deference to our host and hostess, my being something of an expert in these matters, I took it upon myself to demonstrate the finer points of the Strathspey to her ladyship's paid companion woman, a Miss Campbell, for which she, Miss Campbell, that is, was much grateful. I could not help but notice, however, that my natural grace in the dance drew complimentary glances from quite another quarter.
Your fellow is certainly enjoying himself, Dr. Johnson.
My husband once mistook my old governess, upon being introduced, for a seamstress, and had a pair of his breeches sent for mending to my father's parsonage in Maidstone before we were married.
Drink, sir, lady.
On you go! Shove the boat out!
Absolutely charming. Wherever did your secretary find such a creature?
I believe he had the good fortune to discover him baked in a pie, ma'am. 24.
My compliments, Sir Aeneas. Seldom have I reeled with such abandon out with our great capital city. Lady Macpherson, I thank you for the loan of your companion. Mademoiselle.
Please feel free to borrow Miss Campbell whenever it please, Mr. Boswell.
My thanks, Sir Aeneas.
Go on, sir. Borrow the baggage.
I hazard you may not be fine that the circulating library does its members for the late return of a romance.
Papa!
Caroline, my dear.
Or is there perhaps some other slim volume you would rather pluck from the shelf? Is that it?
May I present Captain MacLeod of the Argylls?
My father's compliments, Sir Aeneas.
I shouldn't look now, sir, but I believe that a certain young lady is desirous of your company in the real.
Where? Ah, Miss Campbell. Would that I could, but my boots do pinch so from being in the sea this morning. Perhaps some other gentleman.
Sir, I could not help but notice you cut quite a caper just now. Might I ask you to oblige me by escorting Miss Macpherson onto the floor, whilst her papa and I discuss some business matters?
Your servant, sir.
Tis little consolation, Miss Campbell, but to a gentleman such as Mr. Boswell in his tight boots, a simper from a pretty wench is worth a hogshead of dubbing. Look how he prances.
To bed, then. My feet like ice, but my heart aflame. Oh, Caroline, Caroline. Seldom indeed had I reeled with such abandon. The fact of her mentioning the name of Captain MacLeod more than once during the course of our post-dance tete-a-tete did little to endear that wretched man to me, and I vowed to cuff him for a Jessie the next time we met.
That was a merry dance indeed, sir, to last until now.
Just so. Just so. The young lady showed me a variety of steps you learnt from her tutor in Chelsea. This in her room, of course, where we might be private. Lord, how we practiced.
But you mastered them in the end, Bossie.
What?
These new steps, Mr. Boswell.
Oh, yes, I did, sir. I did.
I shall get a little sleep. We are to be called early. With shipment to Rossi.
Yes?
Just thought I'd let you ken there was a boy cadet prowling the house with a load of piece, looking for a certain party.
Hey!
What are you looking at that one for? Was that Tumsy-headed big galoot that put us up to it?
Do not laugh, sir. I was merely showing the hussy my crotchety.
Having upbraided my companions for their mischievous prank, we travelled some distance in silence until at last we came upon a hole in the rock, and there inside that most curious of our species, a hermit.
Here is some smoke, sir. We'll inquire if this be the right way to the ferry boat. Good grief. He has the look of Methuselah about him.
Ask him how old he is, Mr. Boswell.
I shall do my best, sir. Pardon me, my good fellow, but the gentleman...
In the Gallic. Any fool may bawl us a bit English.
If you'll permit me, gentlemen.
My guinea puts him at 94.
And mine declares him to be 100.
Well? I was letting a few words of the earth for a corporal in the militia.
Never heed the damn militia. What age is he? Have a guinea riding on his being a centenarian.
94, Mr. Boswell.
He'll be 41 next Michaelmas. What? So on, Skalk. Pour it on the throat with water. Brevity to the eyeballs, Celia. Whiskey wine your doctorship. Pickles the body from the inside out. Let's wait to Rossi.
Coming now to liquor, or as it is known hereabouts, scalp. A man may, upon rising, partake of his portion of it, but they're not a drunken race. At least I have never been present much in temperance. Some of them living to a ripe old age, upward of 41 in some instances.
Do you want me to count the bugger out in the water, Master Boswell?
I beg your pardon?
This useless gouk. Do you want me to append him into the brain deep, I'm asking?
And rob the literary world of a giant. A genius. How dare you? These are but jottings, scribbles. The finished article will be augmented and polished when we return to Edinburgh, rendering it unrecognisable from its present goodness. Oh, what is that man doing there? You there!
Can't you hold the sluice like a Glasgow Keeley, eh, Maester?
It is incredible, sir. But these distant shores of Rossay on the horizon there will resemble uncannily the back end of Skye that we've quit but an hour since.
April 19th. Given that we had been on the road and the high seas for nigh on 18 days, I was very anxious that Dr. Johnson had not yet seen fit to wax philosophical, perhaps on Rossay. I vowed to keep my eyes and my ears open.
Were it not for